Have you ever thought about traveling the world full time? Well, we've been traveling for the past 4 years, and even after that much time, we still look at each other and say, can you believe that this is our life?
Now, we knew it was something that we'd love to do, but we had no idea that it would fall into place so well and that traveling would actually be so easy.
So, today we're going to talk about what our lives are really like as we travel the world full time. We'll answer many of the questions we get and tell you some of the pros and cons of traveling the world full time. So, let's get going.
We're John and Bev, and we are the Retirement Travelers.
Now, before we get started, we want to remind you that we do have a website, and here we write about all the places that we go. We also have a newsletter, and we'll put the link below in the description.
Now, if you're wondering where we are as we travel the world, you can always keep track of us by looking on Instagram. We keep our location updated there. So follow along and be sure you hit subscribe here. It really does help us out.
I retired at the end of 2019 and we planned to do some traveling. Now, we had dreamed of traveling abroad, but since that wasn't really a good option at that time, we took off to see all the beautiful national parks in the lower 48 in a truck and an Airstream. Now, during that trip, we traveled over 40,000 miles and checked off the remaining states that we hadn't visited. Now, after seeing all 51 of the national parks and our 50th state, North Dakota, we started off on our adventures abroad.
Now, in the middle of this journey through the states, we decided to sell our home and give away all of our stuff. We've done a couple of videos on the process, so you can go back and watch them if you're interested. But we will say that fully downsizing our lives have opened up the world to us and given us a new lease on life. We highly recommend this process if you plan to travel full time.
Now, since our time in the States, we've traveled to 6 continents and visited about 70 countries. Our plan is to travel for the foreseeable future. Now, when we started, we thought we'd travel for maybe 10 years or so and then stop. But at this point, we plan to just keep traveling as long as we physically can.
Yeah, probably our biggest revelation of this lifestyle has been the amount of learning that we've had. We told ourselves that the world had a lesson to teach us, and we promised each other that we would be open to that lesson, that we wouldn't predetermine what we needed to learn. We'd be patient to see it revealed to us. I think we talked about this in one of our early videos.
At every turn, we learn something new, and we aren't just talking about building a website or a YouTube
No,
channel.
that's hard enough.
Very, very hard, but it's all the other things that we've learned. We are constantly learning new facts, history, flags of each country, their capitals, artworks. It just has simply exceeded, what we had imagined. We always appreciated our world, but, we didn't imagine just how accessible it would be to us. We never dreamed that we could just maneuver through all these different cultures and countries and feel like we're part of each one.
At this point in our journey, we feel that the biggest lesson we've learned so far is that we have to turn negatives into positives. I mean, everything we do, every day is different, from the food we eat to the pillow we sleep on to the paths we take. Now, before we left, we repeated the same thing every day. Everything was the same. We were set in our habits. Now, on the road, we have no habits. I mean, our lives are different every day. Who we meet, what we eat, where we go. So our first big lesson was to embrace ambiguity. We were just never certain of anything, and that's really kind of beautiful.
So let's talk about the actual journey. We aren't slow travelers and we don't consider ourselves budget travelers. We kind of like to think of ourselves as bargain travelers. We're always on the hunt to make our money stretch. But overall, we travel fairly fast, moving locations about a week at a time. Sometimes our locations are 2 hours away on a train, so we travel regionally. And it might seem like a lot of moving, but it's really not when you travel, just a short distance away. Now, rather than sit in one spot and do day trips, we just pack up our bags, we travel light, and just move on down the road.
Yeah, our favorite length of each location is a week. Now, we both carry a backpack, and we've learned that the secret to successful travel is to be nimble and very, very light in our pack. And we carry 1 week's worth of clothes, and we don't carry anything for the just in case scenario. I mean, we try to travel to warm locations, but not hot locations. This year, we did a couple of road trips with rental cars through Ireland, Scotland, and the Faroe Islands. But for the most part, our favorite mode of transportation is train travel.
Because I don't have to drive.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't like that. We've also taken some buses, which we have determined is better than a car, but not as great as a train. We've hired some drivers, and of course, we take some, flights when necessary. We've taken our fair share of ferries as well, and we will hop on a cruise when we know that it can get us to a location that we can't get to easily, like the South Pacific or our most recent transatlantic cruise back to the States.
One of our favorite things we've done this year is to accept invitations to stay with people who follow us. Now, we stayed with a couple in New Zealand and loved every minute of it. We also stayed with a couple in Sweden that we had actually met in Spain. Now, in both cases, they took the time to show us their corner of the world, and we felt so blessed to have made these new friends. We also met, people for dinner, and we met some lovely people on the 2 cruises that we took. All of this has led us to have many great moments in our travels. When we started this trip, we didn't realize that we would make so many new friends as we went along, but we have.
One of our biggest surprises is the pride that we see from locals in their home country, especially small countries. Now, we first noticed this in Guatemala. When we met a local, the first question was, "What do you think of our country?" Now, when we do a video about a small country, we often get comments saying, "Thank you for showing our country in a positive light." It happens a lot. And I think this has surprised us. No matter where we go, people love where they are from. And we're really no different.
That's right. So let's get into some of the questions. When we started traveling abroad, we stayed exclusively in Airbnb, but over the past year or so, we've switched to hotels. Since we weren't long-term renters, we think that this fits our travel style much better. We've done a couple of videos on Airbnb, so be sure to check those out.
And that leads us to our first question that we get often, and that is, if you're staying at a hotel, how do you cook your meals? Do you eat out all the time?
Well, here's the answer. We eat out most of the time. Usually we book hotels that include breakfast, and we eat a really, really big breakfast.
Big one.
And we try to do it as late as possible in the morning. Our goal is to eat only one more meal during the day. Really, the truth is, after raising our family and being retired, we're frankly kind of tired of cooking.
I am.
She's tired of cooking. I didn't do that much cooking. So eating out one meal a day is no big deal to us. We want to try the local foods anyway. And, we do well with this plan. Sometimes we buy a salads or a rotisserie chicken at the supermarket and, make it a picnic. We try to find a nice place to go eat, and that works out great for us.
Really good for us.
Yeah, we've stayed in some apartment hotels as well. And when they have a kitchen, we do use it occasionally.
Yeah, but for the most part, we just find an adequate, nice place to eat.
Yeah.
Now, here's the con of this method. We have to be extra careful what we choose to eat. We are usually very hungry by the time we eat this second meal.
That's right.
And we are tempted very much by pasta and pizza. So we
And
know,
gelato.
and gelato. So we know that we have to resist, and resisting is difficult when you're very hungry, especially if we've walked all day long.
Yeah.
So we make a point to eat fish as much as possible, and we oftentimes order a large salad to share as an appetizer. Our rule is no fried foods, but sometimes those salty French fries are calling our name. The other thing that we have to be really careful of is M&Ms and Pringles. Now, these are in every single country, and they're so convenient. So we try to resist them, but we don't always do that, do we?
Yeah, we've been pretty good, okay? Another question that we often get asked is about mail. How do we manage our mail? Well, first, the federal government, requires a physical address.
They want to be able to send you that little love letter.
Yes, they want their tax money for some reason. Okay, for the first couple of years, my sister managed all of our mail, and she did a great job of opening up all the important things and holding the junk mail for us to look at when we got back. Now we have a mail service. It's called myrvmail.com. We have an affiliate link below if you're looking for a great mail service.
Yeah, it's really easy. Now, the way this works is they give us a physical address, and all of our mail goes to them. They scan each envelope as it comes in, and they send us an email with the scan, so we can kind of see what it is. Now, when they will either open it, scan it, shred it, or forward it. Now, we choose to have ours forwarded most of the time, but occasionally we'll ask them to scan it because we're just curious about what it is and whether it's junk. We don't want to be forwarding things that we know we don't really need. But there have been times when we needed something open and scanned, and it is simple and straightforward.
We did a couple of things to get ourselves ready for travel. Now, first, we've enabled paperless statements, for almost everything, like all of our banking and investments. At the end of the year, we get our tax documents, but for the most part, we don't get much mail. I mean, we don't like snail mail, okay? No. We've also gone online and requested our name and address to be eliminated from the junk mail list. We'll leave the link below for how you can do this as well.
Yeah, but for the most part, this system works wonderful for us. We did have a problem with Oceania Cruises. They love catalogs.
Big, thick, heavy catalogs.
But we went to their website and entered our mailing code from our mailer, and this has stopped. Now, overall, dealing with your mail should not hinder you from traveling. No. And there are solutions, and this is working great for us.
Another question we get is, what travel immunizations have we taken? Now, we've taken just about everything. Yeah, we even took rabies shots in case we got scratched or bitten by a monkey, which was a distinct possibility in a few places. Now, we've gotten Japanese encephalitis and all of our meningitis vaccines. We've gotten everything recommended because our plan is really to travel everywhere. When we downsized our home, we gathered all of our immunization records and I put it into a spreadsheet. So from our baby years all the way up till now.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. It's very handy, and we know what years we need boosters and how long each one lasts.
Yeah, the con is that travel vaccinations are very expensive. I don't remember the total cost, but it seems like we spent several $1,000s doing this. Now that we've traveled abroad, we think you can get most of these elsewhere for much less, like Malaysia or Thailand. Now, we also know that you can get a free yellow fever vaccination in the Bogota airport. The cost you pay here is probably the same as an entire weekend in Bogota. So book that trip for a fun, long weekend. If nothing else, Bogota is more fun than a travel clinic, would you say?
That's right. Now, who doesn't love to go on vacation and get shots? Now, when we went through the Bogota airport, we actually visited the clinic to check it out and ask them, do they offer any other vaccinations? But other than that, they don't. Our advice is, if you plan to travel, research what you need and ask your doctor. We went to Passport Health, and that was pretty easy and pretty straightforward, really. They prescribed our malaria meds and all the other things that we needed.
People often ask us how we plan our trips when we're on the road. Now, our very first year being on the road, we planned everything before we left. We felt a bit confined as we were traveling, and so we ended up making changes. Now, we liked being flexible, but we soon discovered that, trying to travel and make new plans was very difficult. So we switched it up, and we only make travel plans twice a year when we come off the road.
So what we do is we pencil in 2 years of where we'd like to go. And when we come home, we sit down and do all the trip planning, not for the immediate trip, but the one that's 6 to 12 months out. So we are about to take off, to India, but these plans have actually been finalized for about 6 months now. We have to be very, very organized and take very good notes.
Yeah, we mess up if you don't take good notes.
That's right. We don't have good memories anymore, but being organized is the key. And we're going to be doing a video on this soon, so stay tuned, it's coming.
Yeah. The downside to this is spontaneity. Now, as we travel, we learn from locals or other travelers about their path or their recommendations. And because we are planned so tightly, we can't make changes. It's hard when you want to see it all and do it all.
That brings us to another issue. Trying to do it all. We've heard from other travelers who insist they aren't tourists, but rather living their lives on the road. We get what they mean, but for us, we're trying to blog our locations and make travel guides. And for us to do this well, and be able to make recommendations, we need
do stuff.
we got to do lots of different things. We like museums and excursions, and we like to incorporate all of these into our plans so that we can give an honest assessment and tell you what's worth doing.
Yeah, our blog would be pretty flat if we just told you all of the things you could do and not do them. So while we don't take the extreme that we need to do everything in every city, we try to create a great experience for ourselves and for our readers. Do we do everything in every city? Well, no. But we do say occasionally to each other, well, we'll do that next time.
That's right. Now, we have several tips on saving money. We love to save money, okay? But love to save. Now, our favorite, hands down, is the World of Hyatt hack.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. Now, check out our video for how this money-saving hack works. We get so many free hotel stays every year. I mean, lots, probably 2 months worth, by using our Chase Sapphire Reserve card. It's a great hack, and it's the only way we use our points these days because of really the incredible bargain that we get. And we have a video that explains how to do this.
Speaking of Chase, with this card, we get 3 times the points for all travel-related expenses like hotels, flights, and meals. Now, this adds up, and while we pay an annual fee that is high, we still come out on top. We highly recommend a travel credit card, and if our only perk was airport lounges, we would be happy. But there is so much more, just like the Hyatt hack. Now, if you're looking for a credit card, check out our link below.
We're sometimes asked about how we manage our money as we travel. And so first, we have a financial advisor, URS Advisory, that manages all of our investments. Julia and Eric are like family to us, and they support us and cheer us on all the time. Knowing that they're taking care of all of our daily details, helps us have a better journey. When we need to discuss something, they're always ready with a video conference. They have digitized all of our information. They store it in a digital vault for us. We'll have their link below as well. They have a new YouTube channel as well, so follow them for some great financial advice.
Yeah, it just makes me smile just talking about them.
Yeah.
We do all of our banking online as well. So to do this, you need a VPN on your computer and phone so that you can manage 2-factor authorization. A lot of banks won't allow you to log in from overseas. With a VPN, you can set your location for the United States even though you're abroad. It's worked great for us. We'll leave our link below.
And as far as cash goes, we use very little. Instead, we use Apple Pay, on our phones and watches. We pay everything this way. I think in Europe for the past 4 months, I don't think we ever pulled out a credit card. It was only when we walked into a Walmart in the United States that we needed a card. When we were
right back out to the car and get it.
That's right. Now, when we were in Asia this year, we needed some cash. And when we do that, we use an ATM attached to a bank. We have a dedicated debit card that doesn't charge us any foreign transaction fees. Now, this is with Capital One, and we set all that up online.
Yeah, we haven't had any visa problems except in Vietnam. They took a little longer than they said on their website, so that almost caused us a disastrous
Like
problem.
within 2 hours.
Yeah, but we've learned our lesson and we apply for visas well ahead of time. Most countries allow for e-visas, and this is a big help. Years ago, we had to send in our passports if we wanted to get, to their embassies to get the visas. But e-visas have kind of changed the game.
We get asked about our health insurance plan, and we intend to talk about that in an upcoming video. But since it will take some time, we thought we better, devote an entire video. So be sure to look out for that. We're also going to include travel insurance in that video.
Yeah. The next question we get a lot is, do you ever go home? Well, we are home now. We're at one of our daughter's houses. Our plan is to come home twice a year. Our hope is that our kids will meet up with us, but some still have babies, so it's a little more difficult. We do come home to see our moms and families, though. We've been trying to come home for 6 to 8 weeks, but next summer we plan to be home for about 3 months so that we can do some U.S. travel and perhaps do some grandchildren trips.
So this brings us to one of our cons of travel. When we made the decision to travel full-time, we were living in Florida. Our grandchildren were living in different states. We didn't have a home up north, so we saw our grandchildren a couple of times a year. This is true for many people, whether they travel or not. Their grandchildren just don't live in the same town. We had accepted this as a fact because, our 5 children all live in different states. We weren't leaving our grandchildren. We just were never living with them to begin with.
Yeah, we get a lot of pushback from people, not our kids, about missing our grandchildren's lives. Well, the truth is, not one of our children live in the same town that we raised them in. They all left home and made their own choice about who they married and where they live. We're very proud that all of our children are self-supporting and independent. Yes, they'd love for us to live nearby, but we can't live by all of them all of the time anyway.
The con is that we do miss them when we travel. It is a big challenge when we want to connect, especially when we're on the other side of the world. Our kids work, and connecting during the week on FaceTime is nearly impossible. Weekends can be full of activities for them, and lining up the time zones is tough. We do FaceTime often, and we usually text with our daughters. They're a lot better than the boys.
A little better.
Almost daily. But seeing and being part of the children's lives is definitely very difficult. It's a con of traveling.
The positive for us is a couple of things. First, when we're home, we stay in their homes and they get Grammy and Papa full time. We also do family trips, and that gives us another opportunity to spend time with them. We're heading out on Christmas Day for a cruise with everyone, and we met up with everyone last year in Lake Michigan for the summer, and that was fun.
Yes, eight grandkids under the age of 8 on a boat. That should be interesting. Now,
Crazy.
our hope and dream is that our grandchildren will get the opportunity to travel with us each year abroad. Most of them are very little now, but as they get old enough, our legacy plan is to take them around the world as teenagers. This summer, one of our daughters is planning to meet us in Spain, so it will be our granddaughter's first trip to Europe. Her parents will be with her, but they are committed to helping teach her how to travel.
Yeah, she's 6. So when she's 8 or so, we anticipate taking her on some trips abroad without her parents. We're excited about this. She will know us on a completely different level. We believe that this will be a unique bonding experience for her, of shared experiences that we hope she will remember for and cherish really for her lifetime. We hope this for each of our grandchildren.
We hope this helps you understand a few things about our lives. If you have a question or other comments, please leave them below.
Yeah, happy trails.
Be sure to hit subscribe and follow along on our retirement journey around the world.